This is the Illuminate podcast, and I am your host, Rebecca Boatman. I am fascinated with human relationships, from going on first dates to understanding attachment styles and how our personal spiritual mission plays a big role in all of it. I created this podcast to invite you into conversations with inspiring leaders and I, as we explore different topics surrounding dating, relationships, money, and spirituality. Before we start, make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And my one ask, and a great way that you can contribute to the podcast, is to leave a 5-star review. And now let's jump in. The first question is, how would you approach dating if you were just starting out for the first time, but knowing what you know now? Number one, I would get clear on my unique soul template, my UST that you find inside the membership. Meaning, what is it that lights me up? What brings my soul to life? What has me feel in alignment and excited about each day? And the reason that this step is so important and why I recommend it as a number one step, as the first step, is because in doing this work for 7 years and supporting thousands of people, what I have found is that sometimes people will unconsciously date with the desire of actually manifesting their UST, their unique soul template, and they're dating with the intention of, with this is very unconscious, of wanting to be in alignment and wanting that feeling of alignment, wanting that feeling of flow. And so they're looking for that in another person to then bring that to life for them, but it doesn't work that way, right? So they keep hitting a bottleneck or a roadblock. So when you operate and live in harmony with what your soul is here to do and what your mission is here on earth, you no longer are dating from this space of wanting another person to then fill that cup for you. So you can date from this space of alignment, personal alignment, and that person who then joins your life is a huge bonus. The number one step that I recommend is identifying your UST, and then next is identifying your ideal partnership. So what type of partner do you truly desire to experience? What is your ideal partnership? So these 2 steps you want to take before going out and dating. And when I say your ideal partner, I'm not talking about the programs, the shoulds of this is how it should look like. This is what my parents said. This is what society shows me. This is what my ego wants. This is what I think it should look like so I can show it off, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying control all of that. What is it that you deeply desire that is fulfilling? What are your core values? What are your deal breakers? And what's important to you? Is it luxury? Is it adventure? Is it the simple things? Is it all of that? We call it inside the membership your UPT, uncovering your unique partnership template. Knowing your UST, knowing your UPT, so you're clear, right? You have this clear slate. And then going out and flirting, dating, courting, commitment. So the question is, how would you approach dating if you were just starting out? So UST, knowing my UST is going to save you a ton of time. And it feels so good to be in alignment. It feels so good to live your purpose. And also knowing, okay, what is it that you want? So I would want to know, what is it that I desire? And I would lead with that. Don't be afraid. Or I don't want to say don't be afraid, because it's okay to be scared at times. I would say there's no need to be afraid of, or there's no need to not share what it is that you really want at the very beginning. You can put it inside your profile. You can be very blunt and transparent and black and white around, this is what I want. This is what I'm excited about. This is who I am. We had a girl recently who shared with me, she said, I'm getting all of these dates, but they keep, there's just not a match on this one deal breaker that was really important to her. And I said, okay, is that deal breaker in your profile? And she said, yeah, but it's at the bottom. I said, well, girl, let's move that up to the top. Put it at the top and make it very obvious. So then on my next coaching call with her, she's like, well, that definitely weeded out a lot of people. I'm not getting as much interaction on dating. She said, but I did have one of the best dates of my life. And fast forward to then our next call, she is now in a relationship with this person, and her exact words were, working with you was nothing short, well, this is the word that she said, was miraculous. And I got chills. And it's her, right? It's her showing up and being willing to actually implement the work. And one key, very obvious step that she took was the willingness to lead with what was really important to her. So you can put that at the very beginning of your dating profile. And what is that for you? What is it that that is so important to you that you want to be amplified or appreciated in partnership? Okay, so let yourself lead with that. And coming back to what I just shared about, it goes from UST to your UPT to then flirting, dating, courting, commitment. And knowing that those are the steps and allowing inside each of those phases to be an opportunity to expand, to get to know yourself, to transform, to alchemize limiting beliefs, to show up authentically, and to just allow the whole process to be a journey of discovery. So those are a few things that I would do and that I recommend when it comes to dating. Okay. And don't be afraid to set boundaries, which that's really important in dating. And someone else asked a question on boundaries, so we'll get into that. All right. The next question is, how do you date multiple men? And then parentheses, pre-sexual relations. So dating is simply about getting to know someone to see if they are a great potential candidate. And if you are a great potential candidate, for you guys to build a life together. So when I say dating, I mean going out to coffee, maybe going out to dinner, or going on a walk, and you are simply getting to know someone. And when you ask, okay, how do you do that? It's simply you go on a 20-minute walk with Todd, maybe Wednesday, and the next day you're getting coffee with Joe, right? And so sometimes I feel like I'm doing something wrong. Now, I feel like I'm hiding, or I hear these certain questions and concerns will come up. And I always say to really get curious about that. And remember, it's important to never lie and to not hide things. And what you can do is you can, you're simply assume that the person you are going on a first date with is doing the same thing, you guys. That is what dating is about. Dating is about getting to know people and meet people and see if they're a great match. If you go on one date and then all of a sudden cut off all other options, you're prematurely entering into a relationship without actually an established relationship. Now, one thing that I hear as well is people say, well, there's this one guy that I really like, and what if he finds out I went out with other people and then he doesn't want to see me? Remember that as you're going out and dating multiple people, it is a commitment to your vision, right? Your UPT, your unique partnership template, what it is that you want to create with someone. The right person for you is going to honor and respect that you are committed to that vision, because that's your intention in dating multiple people. And of course, you're naturally going to like one more than the others. That's just usually how it goes. Like, oh, this person's more interesting to me. And you guys are getting to know them. Now, you can express, like, yeah, I'm seeing other people. I'm committed to creating this vision. And share your vision, what it is that you want. I'm committed to building a family. I'm committed to XYZ, whatever's important to you. And remember, the right person for you is really going to respect that vision is important to you. And now, when I say dating and when with everything I'm sharing right now, I'm not talking about being physically intimate, because that is a whole nother step into dating and into relationship that will automatically deepen a bond, because when we're physically intimate, oxytocin is at play. And oxytocin is the bonding agent. So you then are automatically want to be bonded to that person. Therefore, dating doesn't feel as natural. So I recommend, this is something I talk about inside the membership, is that if in listening to this, your desire is to be in an exclusive long-term relationship, actually waiting to be physically intimate until you have gotten to know this person emotionally, mentally, spiritually, so you can then see them objectively and make a decision from that place. Okay? So another question that I was asked is, what are some examples of how you've introduced boundaries into your own life? And how did you choose to do so? For example, via confrontation, conversation, or preemptively. So I love that you asked for specific examples. And I actually asked my partner this morning, I said, babe, when have you seen me create healthy boundaries? And I wanted to hear what his take was. And I love the example that he shared with me, and I think it's a great one to share. And this one I would say is more confrontational. So I love how she asked this question: is it confrontational or preemptively, or confrontational or preemptively? So if you're having to create a boundary in confrontation, that would mean that something happened in the moment. You were very aware that a boundary needed to be created, and your awareness allowed you to implement it in that moment. So it was maybe confronting. Preemptively would be something that you noticed ahead of time that you need to create a boundary around something moving forward. And it could also be essentially after the fact, because say you're used to doing one thing in the past and now you're reflecting on the past and you're saying, oh, wow, like I actually need to have a boundary around there. Therefore, now you're looking preemptively about how can I have a boundary in the future? So a confrontation one of an example would be, to me, it is really important that if someone's not in the room, you're not talking about them in a negative light. And so one of the ways that we can attempt to create false sense of intimacy is through gossip. And it can feel comfortable, or it can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm building connection with this person because we are both talking about XYZ, but it's a surface level of intimacy that's it's like a quick fix of intimacy that isn't real depth, and it doesn't actually fill up your cup, right? It may feel like it does in the moment, but how does that really feel you leaving afterwards? And then if people who gossip, of course, they're questioning what other people are sharing when they're not around. So I've been in situations with people who I love dearly, who will then, maybe jump on the train of saying XYZ about one person. And something that I will then do in that moment is disrupt and say, hey, I actually don't agree with that. And, I'm unavailable for that conversation around me. They're not here to defend themselves. Like, let's just not go there. But I'll say it with love, because I don't want to, my intention is not to make the person who's sharing this wrong or have their walls go up. So that would be a more confrontational boundary where there's something that's happening around you that is not in alignment or in integrity with who you are and the values that you stand for. So you lovingly disrupt and just say, hey, I'm unavailable for that conversation, or hey, I don't want to, talk poorly about that person. I don't think it's fair for them, So that's an example. And that's what my partner mirrored to me this morning, which I really appreciated. And then another one that I wrote down is another confrontational one, is I have this motto that's no blame, no complain. And I love it. So I'm all about, like, if my friends or people or my clients are like, oh my gosh, I need to just express, I'm going through something, like, and I want to just vomit. I'm like, okay, girl, like, what's going on? Let it, like, just bring it all to the light so we can cleanse it out. We can get to the deeper thing and we can create something new. Now, that's what I call empowered expressing. Someone who is expressing with an intention of movement, with an intention of, I need to get clear around this and I want to create movement. Now, there's a big difference between empowered expressing and disempowered complaining. So if someone is just complaining to complain and to bring the energy into that space and or to blame, it is a totally different energetic. So I have this motto where if I hear, people who I love going down that space, I'll say, no blame, no complain. So it's like a playful, loving way to have a boundary. And in that moment, no blame, no complaint. It's the motto. And coming back to, the question of how you've introduced boundaries in your own life and when, how did you choose to do so? Another pivotal moment that I remember is I was dating this man, and he wanted me to do something. I honestly, I don't know why. I feel like it had to do with an airplane or something. I don't remember the exact situation. I just remember it had to do with me lying to, I don't know if it was to bring Jonah on the plane, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was for me to lie about something to then get away with something in customer service, right? And I was like, hey, I don't feel comfortable doing that. And then he got all pissed, right? He's like, you've done it before, like, like da da da. And in that moment, I'm like, oh wait, he's right. Like I have. So I then I'm like, what? And I went to my coach at the time about it, and she's like, Rebecca, just because you did it before and doesn't mean you need to do it again. And if you don't feel comfortable with communicate it. So in that moment, I, came back to the conversation. And I said, hey, I acknowledge and understand that I've done this before and I don't feel comfortable doing it again, and I'm not going to. Whoo! I can even feel like the liberation in that. And so that's another example of how I implemented a boundary, where I realized, oh, you can actually realize that you need to create the boundary after the fact. If something doesn't feel good, you can reflect and say, what's that about? And even if you've operated inside a certain way of being, you can acknowledge that that's who you were and who you've been, and that now you're committed to being something different. And another powerful piece that I wrote down here to support you is, if you're questioning, do I need to have a boundary here? You can ask, right? If you're feeling a dissonance in your body and you're like, okay, I need to create a boundary here. Or if it's an area, a great way to identify where you need a boundary is where you're losing your energy. You can reflect on, where am I losing my energy? And inside the membership, we have the whole workshop called The Frequency of Boundaries. And there's a really powerful workbook inside there that's going to help you uncover exactly where you need boundaries and then what those boundaries are. So it's one of my favorite workshops. And boundaries are respect follows boundaries. So when you have boundaries in all areas of your life, there's also respect and there's also intimacy. Because if we have no boundaries and we don't know where self and other ends, it's hard to have intimate relationships because we're not creating a healthy sense of self. So everyone who's listening to this, I know, is committed to having a healthy sense of self, healthy discernment, and creating wonderful, important boundaries. So something that you can ask is, if you're experiencing a dissonance in your body and there's an area where you need a boundary, but maybe you question it, you can ask, okay, is this a fear of the unknown? Is this a fear of closeness or expansion? Right? Because expansion could be you're going to take up space in some way and that's scary. Or closeness could be is you're being intimate with your desires and you're expressing them. Or is this crossing a value of mine? So these are some questions that you can ponder to start to distinguish and look at, okay, there's a dissonance. Where do I need a boundary? I went through something actually recently where I booked a flight to go see one of my friends, and it was just her and I that were going to go camping. And she was like, hey, my other friends are coming. And I don't know these friends super well, and I like them the time I have spent with them. However, did I really want to go spend my camping days with other people? Sometimes I might have been a yes for that. But in this trip, I was so looking forward to just her and I quality time. And because our friendship, we've been friends for 10 years, right? There's so much history and depth, and it's a totally different type of trip that my soul was longing for. And it was I remember it was so uncomfortable to say, like, I voiced to her, I love them, and I am, I would like this trip to just be you and I. Will you please tell them, or I will? That was not comfortable for me because there's this part of me that wanted for everyone to enjoy it. However, I would have been self-neglecting in that moment, and then would then lead to resentment of self, anger with self. And when we don't create boundaries and we're not honest with ourselves, we actually create a whole other series of problems that never needed to happen. So in creating new powerful boundaries, you can know, okay, maybe this is uncomfortable in the moment. Coming back to that question of the fear of the unknown, right? How are they going to respond? Are they going to be happy, not happy? But I'm being true to the original plan. I'm being true to myself, right? So knowing that there can be some discomfort in the boundary setting, and when we don't set the boundaries, what then happens? A whole other series of problems that could have been avoided had we communicated authentically and powerfully. All right. So the next question that I have is, it is very difficult to meet men organically where I live. Also, my time is very restricted. Do you recommend dating sites? P.S. I've dated a lot of men. I've been on them all. Or is this a lack mentality and therefore actually is blocking me from meeting my person? Okay, so I always say if we feel like we don't have enough time, it's most likely related to intimacy. Because when we feel overwhelmed and like, I don't have any time for this, there's something in the field, in the space, that we do not want to get intimate with. And when we are willing to get intimate with that thing, all of a sudden time expands. It is crazy how it works. So when you say my time is very restricted, first off, I would say, okay, what would have your life and time, what would need to change in your life to feel like your time was expanded, like you had more space? And are there certain things, habits that you can cut out, that you can cleanse, that you can detox to open up time inside of your life? And remembering, dating does not take a lot of time. You can go, one thing that I recommend is you can have your dates be only 30 minutes. You don't need to go to a 3-hour dinner on a first date with someone that you may or may not be interested in. You can tell each day, hey, I have 30 minutes. I'd love to get coffee. And the other thing that I want to bring up around this is I met someone one time and she said, yeah, I went on 100 dates in 100 days and I didn't meet the one. And I was thought, girl, like 100 dates in 100 days and you didn't build a deeper connection with one of those people. What that tells me is there's actually a block to intimacy and a block to going deeper. And it sounded like she was dating from this energetic of agenda, from this energetic of control, from this energetic of, are you the lid to my pot? Let me show up, basically like an interview, and figure that out, which leaves no room for the magic, which leaves no room for real connection, which leaves no room for the unpredictable of love and intimacy to just weave its way into your life, because intimacy and control are opposites. So if you're dating a lot and you also feel like you don't have time, which it sounds like in that question, I would invite you to look at block or clogs. We call them energy clogs in the membership instead of blocks, because clogs are like kinks in a hose. Once you move them, the water starts flowing. I would look at your relationship to connection. Specifically, you could go through the frequency of intimacy workshop that we have inside the membership. So yeah, what is that? There's something inside of that for you that I would focus on, because that energetic and uncovering and going deeper there is going to make way more of a difference than going on a ton more dates. And this is just based off this question, right? Okay, so the next question is, oh wait, I think you also asked me dating apps that I recommend. So, or dating sites. There's none in particular that I recommend. That is not my expertise, online dating. However, what my expertise is, and what we also offer as support, is writing really powerful profiles that stand out and are authentic for you. So I would go through that workshop as well. And like I shared in the very beginning of this, lead with what you want right off the bat. Like lead with what's the most like unfiltered, authentic, playful, or like just whatever who you are, like just lead with that through and through the very beginning. Like this is me and this is what I'm looking for. And no need to let fear stop you from doing that. And then also with dating apps, you can filter things down really well. So I highly recommend filtering things down. If you don't want someone who drinks, filter it down. Like, and on the sites, make sure that your filters are set to really match what your deal breakers and what's important to you, because that will make a difference. Okay. The next question. What do you do when you meet a man and almost everything aligns, but there's no chemistry on my end with him? So I would ask, where is there not chemistry? Is it physical, emotional, mental, spiritual? And identify where the chemistry is missing. And then recognize, okay, the reality is not everything aligned. Okay, physical chemistry was missing. I'm going to add that into my UPT, my unique partnership template of what's really important to me. And I'm going to continue to manifest and know that the person who is my UPT with physical chemistry is coming into my life. This person also I'm very attracted to, and all of these things align. So identify exactly what was missing in the alignment, and then decide, okay, this is also what I am manifesting and attracting, to open yourself up to that possibility. Now, another thing I want to address when it comes to chemistry, if you are used to and or have an experience of dating and relationships being very high and very low, like a crash and then a burn, a crash and a burn, or it's always amazing and then just really hard, or there's that chemistry is great, everything's amazing, and then it's really challenging and you're looking for that drama, it could be another word. That I would say is something I want to talk about, because sometimes people can associate inconsistent availability and or the drama as attraction. They can be attracted to it because their nervous system is used to that from childhood, from whatever it may be. And so if that is the case, I would highly recommend doing nervous system work, because one thing that I hear from everyone is that they want to feel safe inside partnership. So in order to feel safe, which I think that what people are actually wanting, and it's just sometimes it's hard to put a word on it, or we are not familiar with this, is coherence and balance and evolution. So then the intention is, okay, how can I tune my nervous system to experiencing balance, which is most likely, I feel, what people are desiring underneath the word safety is balance and evolution, and allow that to be my focus so that I can attract someone who also has a healthy coherence and balance in their system, and they're devoted to evolution, which I know you guys are, because you're listening to this, and allow myself to be attracted to that rather than repelled from that. Because if there is an addiction to the dopamine, if there's addiction to the drama and that type of chemistry, then you will be repelled by the person who is quote unquote safe or balanced, because it's a death to that addiction inside your field. So what are the tangible steps for that? The subconscious work, right, which we do inside the membership, the frequency meditations, having practices like that. And then I also recommend NSA work, network spinal analysis, which they have practitioners who do NSA all over the world. I know it's a powerful modality to support you in altering your chemistry and altering your nervous system to states of coherence and balance, which increases your quality of life and your partnerships. So I hope everything I shared made a difference for you. And by the way, you guys, I'm really excited because I opened my home to our Brave Movers for January 4th through 7th. You'll get to come to my house and have a powerful retreat experience with me. And you'll get an Airbnb or a hotel, or you'll stay somewhere in Austin. You can stay with another Brave Mover. And I wrote out the itinerary yesterday. I cannot wait to share it with you guys. It's going to be a blast. And it's as the Brave Movers, meaning you've done at least 3 Calibraves, you have then this whole experience is free. I'm going to provide dinner on Sunday. I'm going to provide lunch Friday. And then you get to have experiences Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at my house. It's going to be amazing. So for all of our Brave Movers, and if you haven't done Calibraves yet, all you need to do is 3 Calibraves to earn that experience, which is going to be amazing. I cannot tell you enough or put it into words how powerful being together in person is, and doing Calibraves in person. It's always some of the best memories of my life, not just for me, but for all the participants, because I'm fun. And we just have a blast. And it's also very transformative for you. You get to walk into this space of like this big cocoon of love and possibility and discovery, and you get to go out into the world and also implement these things and leave feeling absolutely refreshed and on fire and empowered, and just this beautiful weekend. And it'll be a great way to kick off the year together too. That's why I decided to do it in January. Okay, everyone, have an amazing day full of beauty, full of possibility, full of harmony, coherence. Okay, team, I love you guys, and I will see you later. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and you can find a ton more free tips on my Instagram under Rebecca Boatman. If you are curious about my online membership and community, you can click the link that is in the description and see the page that explains everything you get to support you on your journey to attracting and building a healthy relationship. And I hope to see you inside.